Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go live on S4 with Eric Cooper.
Prepare to go to the edge.
3 years. Over 1,000 followers. 30,000 downloads in the archives. Welcome to S4.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to S4, the official radio broadcast of Forest Moon Paranormal, with host Eric Cooper and our panel of enlightened minds. Coming to you live from FMP headquarters located in the heart of Skagit Valley, Washington, at the base of the majestic North Cascade Mountains. We will take you through a journey of exploration as we examine every aspect of the metaphysical. From spirits, UFOs, Bigfoot, and conspiracies, to grounding, protection, astral travel, and everything in between, leaving you with a better understanding and comprehension of the world around you, and the entities that inhabit it.
Join us every Saturday night at Spreaker.com and locally on KSVU 90.1. Don't forget to check out our new webpage at www.s-4radio.com.
Now sit back, open your mind, get ready, because this is S4.
Good evening or morning, depending on where you are, and welcome to S4, the voice of Forest Moon Paranormal, coming to you live from FFP headquarters in the heart of the Cascade Mountains in Concrete, Washington. FMP is a highly active emergency response team for all aspects of the paranormal, from aggressive hauntings to alien interactions, Bigfoot and other cryptids, and everything in between is terrifying. S4's voice, where we discuss these things in detail. Not only can you find S4 right here on Spreaker, but for our local listeners, also on KSVU 90.1 FM from 10 to 12 Saturdays with pre-recorded shows. So, I can't believe it, folks. It's already August 3rd. It's August, 1 month away from Paracon, and I will keep saying that every show. So tonight we're talking the dangers of the paranormal. You see these guys on TV. They run in. Nothing happens to them. Everything's hunky-dory. The doors move, people scream, creepy music plays, but no one ever goes to the hospital, or worse yet, dies. So, are there dangers in the paranormal? We're going to discuss all aspects of the paranormal and discuss the dangers from the mundane to the paranormal and how you stay safe. Before we start, what?
Okay, can we just put our thoughts and prayers out to those in El Paso, Texas for this morning?
Indeed.
There was a major shooting out there, and for all those involved and all their friends and families, friend, we're with you.
Indeed. And they're already politicizing it. Are we surprised?
No, but
we're not. But yes, S4 and the admin of FMP are all with you folks. And that was a moment of silence. So tonight, we have with us Cole Wegleitner, our technical analyst, Chris and Brent Dodge from the FMP Extended Care and Astral teams, Matthew Dunnigan, one of our boots on ground analysts, R. Keith Andrews, our alien race specialist, Don Davidson, our California consultant, and Jamie Justice, one of our upriver consultants. How are we all doing tonight?
Not bad.
Pretty good. Good.
Outstanding. And you know, getting back on that, it's sad that you actually hear shootings damn near daily. Not to that number usually, but it happens routinely. You guys notice
Yeah,
that?
it unfortunately does. It seems like it's every day somewhere, and it shouldn't be.
It's every day somewhere, but they only highlight certain ones.
Yeah.
And I blame our media for that.
Absolutely.
I really do, because there's shootings every day. You don't hear about them every day, but you hear certain ones. Oh my God, look at this person. What I'm surprised is it wasn't an Islamic that they, you know, if it was an Islamic guy, they would have been all over it. This guy wasn't Islamic.
Well, that's something that I'd like to point out, and it annoys the daylights out of me personally. Have you ever noticed that when somebody does something like that, doesn't matter who they are, they specify this is the name of the person.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever it happens to be a Muslim or an Islamic, they call it by the nationality or the affiliation, if you will.
Right.
Not by they call it Muslim or they call it Islamic. Now, if that's not fear mongering, and frankly, that's my opinion, it's got nothing to do with you guys. If that's not fear mongering, I don't know what is.
Oh, that's my point. I'm surprised, you know, in this particular case, it was a racist, point blank. He was targeting people of color. So it was hands down a racist, which is what our current administration condones. That's just sad reality. And I've had this discussion with people before. Well, no, he doesn't. He doesn't condone it. And I'm not making this a political show by any means. I'm going to shut up here in a minute. But my point is his lack of his silence when it happens, his condemnation or lack of condemnation is what condones it. It's not that he jumps up and says, "Oh yeah, I like the KKK or I like the white supremacists," but the fact that he doesn't condemn it is where the condoning comes in. Anyway, so tonight we're talking, ironically, about the dangers of the paranormal. And like I said in the intro, you watch these paranormal TV shows, and do we see any of them go to the hospital, or any of them get scratched, or any of them get hurt?
I don't know how to answer that, because the ones I've watched where they have, I don't believe it's real.
Well, exactly. And you don't hear in the news, oh, so-and-so from such and such TV show, Kill the Ghosts, whatever, you know, throw your name in there, went to the hospital. No, because they didn't. You know, then you've got some that make it a public statement. Oh, I'm going to get out of the paranormal field because demons attack me. But then you see them the next week on the same show. So they make fake dangers part of their publicity stunt.
I always look at that going, well, if you're getting into the paranormal, if you're into that investigative stuff, you've got to be expecting that you're going to have problems.
But that's the problem, Keith, is even the ones that say there's dangers, when you ask if they use protection when they go to an investigation, well, no, why do we need protection? And that's where Chris is going to come in tonight. Chris is going to talk about protection tonight.
That's why they stop and go, yeah, I don't need protection because I'm actually suicidal.
Oh.
I think that just became a whole new show then. That's
Right.
Fear Factor. Ghost
Fear
Edition.
Factor.
That wasn't so.
Or fear mongering. And even I've been accused of fear mongering. Oh, you're pushing fear, talking about disasters. No, I'm talking preparedness, not fear. But that's another show too. Oh,
Except we're going to have this show about other shows.
right? Just go listen to the archives. So, when we walk into someone's house, if we're boots on ground, so protection in the astral is a whole different topic, and we'll get to that. But if we're boots on ground, what are some of the fears? Oh, I've got fear on the brain. So what are some of the dangers we look for when we walk into someone's house?
The area. It has to be a safe area before you let the team go in.
Right. But what do we look for? What makes it a safe area?
Oh, like the structure, house structure, porch structure, to where we won't get hurt. Not paranormal, but physically.
In other words, you want to go to a building that is
Black mold.
sound.
Yeah. Sound, yeah, structure, sound, and black mold, any gas smells, weapons. Okay, Cole, you can help me out here.
Okay. The client.
Say again?
The client. If we find out, like in the middle of a investigation, well, at the start of an investigation, that it's not a paranormal issue, but a psychotic issue. I don't know if psychotic's the right word there, but you know what I mean.
Okay, so excellent. So let's back it up for a minute. That's why we have a pre-investigative questionnaire. Because some people get annoyed. Well, why do I got to fill out a form? Well, because that's the first step in scene safety. And, I always compare what we do as emergency responders for paranormal issues to the ICS system, the Incident Command System, or first responders in general. There's always scene safety, whether you're law enforcement, whether you're fire department, whether you're EMS. There's always somebody doing scene safety. You're not going to have, as a fireman or an EMS personnel, you're not going to run into an active shooter situation. You're not going to run into a law enforcement issue where, the cops called you in over a shooting if they haven't captured the shooter. So same thing we do. If it looks like it might be a psychiatric issue, that's where we call in Francie. Francie's going to do a psychiatric assessment. That's also where Astral comes in, because if Astral goes on site from the Astral level and can't pick anything up, then you question, is there something really there? I'm thinking here. So that's part of the reason we have the pre-investigative questionnaire. Is there physical injury, not counting the terror factor, or the fear factor of being scratched, being pushed, seeing shadows move across your living room, things of that nature. Poltergeist activity. Anytime you have, if there's nothing there, but people are seeing things, you have to look at Is there carbon monoxide levels that are high? Is there black mold? These are things that can cause hallucination. So when it comes to the scene size up, these are things you look at when you go in. Where's the most activity in your home going on? Oh, there's black mold. Let's pull the team out. Let's call in the health department, or notify the client that they need the health department to come in. Joe's in the chat room. He says signs of drug abuse. Exactly. Is there any kind of weapon reports? I don't do a background check on clients. So, some things are obvious, though. Matthew, it's your first time on the show tonight. Do you have any input?
Not at the moment.
Well, Matt, what are some dangers when you go into a boots on ground case? Your boots on ground, bud.
Yeah, some dangers that I would look for is, you guys pretty much covered it, is the stability of the client. Guns, I mean, I wouldn't want to be there, somebody who's unstable with guns. I would take myself out of that situation. If we're walking around the property outside, I mean, I would look for wildlife. I mean, if they're like cougars or something like that.
Could a bear be a Bigfoot?
I think Bigfoot and the bear are two different things. Like, they're a bear, you obviously know a bear, and Bigfoot, well, is Bigfoot.
But a bear can walk on two legs, so if a client was reporting a Bigfoot report, could it be possible they saw a bear, not a Bigfoot?
Correct.
Depends on how far the bear ran.
That's true. And how fast.
It's technically possible. Gage is completely wrong.
Say again?
I said it's technically possible he could be mistaken, but the gauge is completely wrong.
Oh, I agree. But if they only caught a glimpse of it, you never know. All right. How about electrical hazards? So we have a high EMF. We walk into a client's home and we have high EMF readings. Is there a shocking hazard there?
Yeah. So for that, I'd say you look for the age of the plugs in the walls. Usually by the age of the plugs, you can tell how old the wiring is. Sometimes. Look for any recent renovations that have exposed wiring, anything like that. Any black singe marks in the walls.
Or around the plugs themselves.
Yes.
Okay, what about slips, trips, and falls?
Gravity's to blame.
Say again?
I say gravity is to blame.
Oh,
Damn that gravity.
I agree. And that's where the structure of the building comes in. Generally speaking, we walk into a client's home. You're going to know just by the shape of their house, the condition of their house, whether you've got trips and falls and things of that nature, but walking carefully is obviously common sense. And so using Northern State Dairy, which we're using for our ghost walk, as a perfect example of nails in the floor, maybe. Again, floors that might collapse. These are all hazards you got to look at. You have some teams. What about cemeteries? You got a lot of these teams. They like to go spirit hunting in cemeteries, and they always go in the dark.
Well, that's just dumb.
It is. I mean, the guys don't stay there very long. And don't the investigators. I mean, the spirits.
So they're walking along in the dark, and they trip over a headstone. They trip over a rock.
Trip over feet.
You've got environmental hazards. Even if you're in a cemetery, you can still get hypothermia. Things like that. Heat exhaustion. You have to look at environmental hazards. Is our team going in the mountains? Are they going prepared? Are they going to take at least a 24-hour pack with them? And we'll get to that. We'll actually get to that here in a little bit. And we'll get to that in the Bigfoot hour. Or the mountain expedition hour. And then we're going to go into abduction and what are the threats with aliens. And that's where Keith's going to jump in.
Probing.
Yep.
It's always a threat.
So, when you're looking at psychiatric issues, what are some of the psychiatric threats? And I'm going to go straight to Francie's protocol. We have a psychiatric information for the FMP team. Because you got different kind of psychiatric profiles you look at with clients. So you have... Now, and before we even start this, I want to say that this is not every client we have. Because a lot of clients fit this criteria, but they're not all psychiatric. A lot of times there's actually something going on. That's where we have to look at history. So, people with histrionic personality characteristics are the ones that are seeking center stage, and they have no credibility. They continue to produce copious amounts of quote-unquote evidence without any real paranormal content. They're unlikely to want mental health treatment or referrals, and they will terminate our services. Or if we terminate our services, they see it as rejection. These are conditions where we have to establish our own boundaries. But these are the ones you'll actually see. They'll post asking for help in about 20 different groups. And they'll try to cause strife between teams that are both working on their case. We've seen that before. There's the ones that seek assistance from paranormal teams. They have anxiety disorders and OCD. They're easier to assist than those with personality disorder characteristics. These are really fearful people, but they respond well to the aftercare. They respond well to empowerment. Then you got the ones with paranoid ideation. They have thought disorders. They seek the assistance of paranormal teams as well. They're identified in personal one-to-one conversation or text messaging. They're delusional. These are the ones that actually have problems all the time. And they feel like they're being watched all the time. Finally, we have the psychiatric category that often presents to paranormal teams, including people with somatic disorders. They're totally focused on their bodily functions, and physical symptoms. Evidence with this client, they send picture after picture of physical issues they attribute to paranormal activity, even after the case is closed. Now, one thing we do, we always have an open door policy, but these people are sending pictures over and over again, but there's nothing there. We call them needy. Will you agree, Chris? We didn't lose
I didn't
Chris
hear you.
The needy people, the ones that we've closed their case, we've already done their case, but they're still sending picture after picture of something that's not there.
Oh, yes. Or constantly in contact. Yeah. It's almost like a paranoia. Yeah. But they're paranoid, it seems like, yeah.
And, you know, we know which cases to send to Francie, but these are cases, if we were boots on ground with those, because most of these cases we actually see through chat, through internet. And we work their cases through Astral and through the internet. And they continually call. They continually, it's still here, it's still here. But you send Astral in over and over again, and it's nothing there. Not much you can do. Those are Francie cases. So, Matt, how do we handle psychiatric issues?
How would we handle it?
Yeah.
Well, we would obviously assess the assess them. I'm kind of new at this, so I'm thinking. I'm sorry.
No, this is your test. We're testing you tonight.
Yeah. So the way that we would handle somebody that has psychiatric is my opinion. I think that Astral would go in, look, there's nothing there, then go from there, if that makes sense. That makes sense to me.
Okay.
Yeah, but what if you have,
No, go ahead.
I was wondering though, if if you send somebody in like Astral and they're not seeing anything that's there, does that really mean it's not there? Can't something be showing itself to just the one person and not anybody else?
It can. And this is where we actually have boots on ground in other states that can actually go in physically as well as Astral. Not always, but we've been lucky enough so far in that we haven't had that occurrence too often. But oftentimes spirits or other entities can actually hide themselves from the team when they come in. So yeah, we take 2 or 3 times of going in before establishing there's nothing there. And that's where it's fortunate having a therapist like Francie who can actually talk to the client, and if she's established that there is a psychiatric issue in conjunction with paranormal, she can refer them to resources that are near them. And it really doesn't matter what country they're in. She finds them resources. The line you have to be careful with is watching for the desperate client that shows signs of suicidal tendencies. And with that, we have hotlines for every country. So, and we actually have had to call in suicide hotlines and report clients as having suicidal ideation and go from there. So those are the real careful lines you have to watch being in this field.
Eric, what was that one case that was, it was here in this state, but I was kind of new, and Astral went in, found there was an actual problem, but the mother wasn't being very nice to her kids, and we pulled Francie in, and the mother got in trouble for that.
Well, we call in
all areas
we call in CPS for that case.
Yeah. So there's all areas that we are aware of when we're doing this.
Yeah, we actually called CPS in on 2 different cases, because in one case the mother was eating the spirit of her kids. The other case, yes, it was a mother abusing her kids and calling it paranormal.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So yes, there are, being in this field, it helps to have a psychiatric background. It helps to have a therapist. education. We're going to cover education and areas of the paranormal that paranormal teams can actually benefit from with having backgrounds in about the third week. Next week, by the way, there is no show. We will be at the Skagit County Fair for all the locals listening. Look for the FMP booth. Just look for Bigfoot, and you'll find us. But there will be no S4 next week because we'll be at the fair.
Now, how, pray tell, did you get Bigfoot to show up at the fair?
We cut him out with wood.
Paid him in beef jerky.
Yep.
We just invited him, and he said yes.
Snap into a Slim Jim. Anyway. Yep, he likes Slim Jims. You know, that was not a promotion. Oh. So, what's another area? So, we have the psychiatric. We've covered that pretty good. Criminal elements. We can't, without doing a background check on, and I'm sorry, doing 3 to 5 cases a day, we can't do a background check. We don't have the time to do a criminal background check on every client we do. Is there any red flags that you would see with potentially domestic violence, potentially some other kind of criminal element, drugs, things like that we could be looking for?
What do you mean, when we go into boots on ground? Or
either one.
Just anything?
Probably about 500 TVs and new in box sitting in the living room is kind of a
yeah.
quick take.
If it was boots on ground. And we have Tim in the chat room. Good evening, Tim. Good to see you here.
So, if we went into a boots on ground case, and I seen that there was evidence of domestic violence, like if the wife was kind of timid around her husband, that would give me a clue, like, hey, there's something going on besides paranormal that's going on, and need to get, like, either the police involved or get somebody else involved.
So, I'm going to watch, and the initial assessment is a good indicator of that. Just because on first interaction she appears timid of her husband, you got to understand about 90% of our clients are female. And the husband or the significant other does not believe anything paranormal is going on. So the timidity could be because, she's being ridiculed. She's being, there's no spirits here. You're not being pushed. It doesn't mean necessarily it's domestic violence. I'm not going to jump on that and get somebody in trouble on first interaction. Now, if she's got bruising around the neck, bruising around, the wrists, bruising on the arms, it's obvious, I might question it. You have to use a lot of common sense. Use your gut. But is she timid because she's scared of the man, or is she timid because, she's embarrassed talking about the spirit or the Bigfoot or the alien abduction? Alien abduction, no, that's a whole different category.
Yeah, we can't even chalk that up to being haunted at that point.
No. So, let's see here. What else we got?
I have something.
What do you got?
Coffee.
Well, you're talking about how there's some physical things, that will show and some things that won't. I don't know if you looked at those pictures that I had sent about dead trees. They're in just little spots around the farm, and they're dead right in the middle of these big lush green things, and they're just dead. They're different kinds of trees, and there's no reason for it, but yet there's something happening there but it doesn't appear to be doing anything. I mean, there's just dead trees. There's something wrong with those dead trees. When there's 100 acres and there's 2 cascara trees on that 100 acres, they're completely at opposite ends of the farm. Both of them are dead, and nothing else around them is.
So with that, I would, and we still need to get one. We need to get a Geiger counter for radiation. EMF might pick something up, but I'd be getting soil samples and even bark samples to be sent in to see if there's something biological going on.
But wouldn't it be weird that, I mean, it's like 4 dead trees, and then, the rest of the field's fine, and then there'll be another clump of dead trees, but there's nothing else around them, and they're different trees. And it just, I mean, the spots of it just they don't make sense. If there was something in the soil, you'd think a whole bunch of it would be dead.
Oh, yeah, and that's true. Are they in a circular pattern?
No, they're along the creek right in the middle of the field, and you can see the grass and hay is really, really green, and then there's these dead trees. I mean, there's nothing on them. They're just white, gray, and black, and they're just sinister looking, and everything else is soft and green around them.
Well, sometimes if you take a look at the geological superstructure underneath the trees, that will do it right there. And that can be a minor modification underneath the ground that's got nothing to do with anything except the way the planet has grown.
Okay.
We'll come out and take a look. We'll bring the team over.
Yeah, because, like I said, I'm not sure. This place, there's something going on back there. We've talked about this before. And Bigfoot and aliens, and there's something happening back there, but nothing's actually happening. And my family thinks that I have just gone bonkers. They think I've got all the stuff in my head, but there's stuff. There's things that noises, and there's people have seen things and stuff, but yet nothing's really happening. And they're saying, well, if there's a spaceship up there, well, something would have happened by now. What are they doing? Well, just sitting there or moving around. Well, is there anything else happening? No. Well, that's just stupid then.
Yeah, and so Tripp's in the chat room asking what state you're in. So Jamie's our neighbor here, Tripp. So she's talking basically the same mountain range I live up against. And there is a lot of UFO activity. There's a lot of weird stuff that goes on up there. We got Bigfoot here. We have every aspect of the paranormal up here. So, yeah, we'll definitely be going up and checking it out. But we're taking the team up Haystack anyway. So, it's all part of the same range. And, yeah, I agree. Awesome. There's a lot of weird stuff up here.
There really is.
So, yeah, and we're getting to aliens in, probably the second hour. And then we'll wrap it up the third. So, get ready, Keith, you're up.
Are we actually heading for the second hour here? Apparently.
Oh, no,
well, in 20 minutes. In 20 minutes. So, now how do we protect ourselves? Now, when it comes to the psychiatric, obviously you get other agencies involved. We don't carry weapons. So, that's where you call in law enforcement. The only time we do carry weapons is if we're in the mountains, and that's against the wildlife and unsavory people. But as far as going into clients' homes, we have to rely on 1, our gut, and 2, local law enforcement or other agencies that we need to call in. When it comes to the black mold or the environmental issues, we have masks, we have gloves. We have everything we need for protective equipment as far as the team's protection goes into going into an environment. And you guys probably didn't know that, but yeah, all that stuff's in the truck.
Oh, I knew that.
I know you did. And I gotta stop. I gotta say, I can't wait for next week. I know y'all are excited as I am about going to the fair. because it's going to be an adventure. It's going to be fun. FMP doesn't get to go out in big events like the fair very often. In fact, this will be the first time at the fair anyway. We were at the swap meet all last summer, and that was great too.
I don't know what you're talking about next week. This week's already started for me. Okay.
Okay.
Fine. Well, that's all.
So Joe's asking, and that's a really good question. Ever go to a house where you need to leave somebody out near the vehicles because it's a sketchy neighborhood? We haven't had to yet, but that's why we do have security on the team. But actually, I got to backtrack because yes, I have, and well, I didn't leave anybody at the vehicles, only me and one other person. But that's also why within our protocols that we don't ever go into a case alone. We go with as many as we need to. And I don't think there's ever... Okay, if you have a 14-person team and all 14 people go to a little house, that's probably excessive. But we don't have that problem. We have about 5. And so, you know, having to leave somebody outside at the vehicle, I would leave 2 somebodies. If we were in a sketchy neighborhood, we would have 2 people. Just saying. Well, we don't have any sketchy neighborhoods up here. I was waiting for that, Jimmy.
I was just thinking at the team meetings, maybe we have to leave someone outside.
No.
Hey, have you been over in Cedar Grove after dark? I don't think so.
Jamie, I live in Cape Horn. Don't even.
Right.
Oh, hey, you got Cape Horn has been cleaned up and they moved to Cedar Grove. It goes back and forth, and it's totally our turn this time, Cole.
Yeah, I agree. But no, I think there's enough of us that are trained well enough that we don't have to worry so much about the sketchy people, the sketchy neighborhoods. So I would have to say, and I know you wanted to ask, or you wanted to learn more about the spirits and the scratching and the dangers of the paranormal side versus the human and mundane elements. Correct, Jamie?
Yes.
So with that, and that's where the protection side comes in, because we're talking, we already know that there's dangers with the clients, or they wouldn't call us in. So yes, spirits can scratch, spirits can attack, they can push, and they don't have to be malevolent entities or demonic. General spirits can do the same thing. That's why I laugh. Oh my God, I've got 3 scratches. It means it's a demon. No, it does not. You know, a lot of spirits have fun, and they will scratch with 3 scratches because they know that you're going to think it's a demon. It doesn't mean it's a demon. Demons are actually rare. So, yes, spirits can scratch. They can push. They can cause bruising. They can cause physical ailments just as much as malevolent entities can. And I say malevolent entity because not everything is a demon. There are malevolent entity types that are non-demonic. Shadow people, for example. You know, we could go on. We could actually write a book, and we might actually write an entity book one day. We have to get the astral team involved. Brent, you here?
Yeah, he's listening.
Is he ready to write a book?
Well, I could co-write.
There you go. So as far as protecting yourself, we use black tourmaline is probably our one of our main stones that the team uses when it comes to protection of going into a location. Everyone's got their own religious beliefs. Christian, Catholic, pagan. So we basically call on our own deities or our own higher power, essentially, to protect us. Does that always work? No, it doesn't. Calling Jesus' name, calling on your God's name, does not always work, because think about it. When you die, if you're an atheist, your spirit is still an atheist.
Trust me, when that happens, your spirit's no longer atheist.
Well, once you've crossed over.
Well, you did say once you die.
Yeah. But if you're a stuck spirit, you have not dropped your atheist level.
No, if you're still stuck, you're still all you are there is a corporeal without a body.
Right. So my point being, if somebody thinks they've got a demon, but they really have a spirit that, when he was an atheist and he's stuck, do you really think an atheist is going to listen to a Roman Catholic priest or an evangelical? No.
No, they'll laugh at them.
They'll be pissed off.
Honk them.
And that's why we always say, religion does not always work in the paranormal field. You've got all these people giving advice on, get the priest. Why? It doesn't work. Sometimes it will. But 9 out of 10 times it won't. Say again, Keith?
That's where I'm a little twisted. I'd call the priest in just for giggles.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was saying too, Cole.
But I remember a case that we had where they actually had an evangelical association. They actually had a Catholic priest. They actually had a Native American shaman come in. None of it worked. And these folks were actually living in a hotel because they were tired of the attacks in their home. So, real quick. So we're getting close to the top of the hour, but I want to... So what Starflower's asking, what does it mean when a shadow being visits you frequently? Have you asked it? Is it trying to communicate? Would be the first thing I'd ask. Does it feel malevolent? Does it feel like it's trying to be aggressive towards you? It could be a messenger. It could be a spirit guide.
Messenger.
Yep. It could be a messenger.
What messenger? What do you mean by messenger?
So a spirit messenger. Shadows can honestly also be spies as well. So some magic users, and not the game, usually pagans, can actually spy on their enemies using shadows. These are shadows that they only observe. They don't try to interact. They don't. They're not aggressive. They're just there. And once we go in, there's usually an energy connection to them. We can follow that energy trail back to the sender and deal with it appropriately. So there are shadow entities. Yes, they are entity type. That's something different. Again, usually that goes to astral combat for removal. But Chris, I'm going to give you 5 minutes to go briefly into protection. We'll go into deeper protection later on in the show. So how do we protect ourselves before we go into a supposed haunted location?
Well, even any of the extended care team has to protect themselves before they do any case also. But it's basically grounding and shielding, and grounding you use your own energy, and you also use the energy of the earth, and you cleanse yourself of all negativity, because the evil or the entities, that's what they like. That's what they thrive on, is the negativity. So you want to cleanse yourself of that. and it's basically a matter of concentration, intent, and just deep thought process. And then, like kind of like a meditation, but not really. And then once you do that, and the negativity is cleansed out of yourself, then you go in and you basically rebuild an energy shield around yourself with the earth. Because every body is made up of energy. So you're using the earth energy to help you build your energy up, causing a shield around yourself, which it's never 100% for sure. Nothing is 100% for sure. But you have a better chance of the any entities don't like the positive. They do not like it. They'll shy away from it. So as long as you have the positivity, you have a better chance at, you're basically shielding yourself and protecting yourself. To sum it up real quick.
Excellent. And then we use herbs. We use black tourmaline. We use other means. But go into real quick. So it really doesn't matter if we're boots on ground, if we're astral, or even if you're extended care and you're working with a client in a chat. Does it?
No, it doesn't. We've had one of our extended care reps actually be affected through the computer. She was working with the astral team member, and which we do a lot. We will communicate with the astral team member behind the scenes. Also, the extended care is communicating with the client. And sometimes because the astral team will go into a concentration mode, and when they're doing that, they try to stay away from communicating with the client because the clients are scared, they're intimidated, they don't know what the heck's going on, and you try to just let the astral team concentrate, or the astral person concentrate on what they're doing instead of being interrupted. So us as the extended care will communicate with the client, let the astral member work, and then when the astral member, if they have any questions, a lot of times they'll just talk straight to us as extended care because we know not to throw a bunch of questions at them while they're doing this. And anyway, she was doing that, talking to the astral person, and she just got affected right through the computer so bad that she got an instant headache and had to stop. She had to actually log off her computer and just stop for a few minutes. And when she walked away, and then she knew, though, see, we all know, and she knew something was off, so she grounded, she shielded, and then she went back and she was fine. So she knew how to take care of herself. But it did happen, and it can. Like I said, nothing is 100%, but this team, through all of our trainings, know what to do, which is good.
Perfect. And, that lends to the question that we get asked by some people. Does watching paranormal television shows cause a threat to them through their TV? And that's a good point. I would say no, because most of the time what you're watching on TV is a reenactment. It's not real. I would be more worried about some of these teams that record their actual investigations on YouTube before I worry about watching paranormal television shows. Because they're reenactments. They're not actually doing anything. They're not actually... they try to act like they are. They try to make you think they are. But they're not actually doing anything that's going to affect you through the television set.
No, I think you can possibly be more affected by going to a mall, going to a very populated place. There's energy vamps out there that I had the experience with that. And man, can they transfer, and can they transfer quick, and can they do some damage.
Yeah, but they're fun to play with if you know how to reverse the blaring.
Yeah.
So, Don.
What's up?
You've been back there quiet. So, do you have any input?
I've been... As far as those shows and their protections, I feel for them every time I see them. Just because you never know what they're going to go into. And I, for one, have just been, like, my biggest thing is how do you know it works kind of thing, if that makes any sense.
It's trial and error, just like Chris said. Even the measures we use aren't 100% all the time. It's
yeah.
So even with trial and error, it might work on 20 cases. It's that 21st case, and then we just have to revamp.
That makes sense.
We use what works for us. And, and we'll get into a lot more detail here later on in the show. But everyone always says, oh, you got to get sage. Got to get sage. Oh, sage fixes everything. No, it does not. You don't use sage until after everything's cleared. Sage by itself is not going to remove anything. It might remove the very mild spirit that doesn't want to be there anyway, but it's not going to send that spirit over to the other side. It's going to remove it for a minute. The sage is going to clear, and it's going to come right back. What we use is actually a blend of frankincense, myrrh, rosemary, sage, and a few other things. And then, of course, we'll get into that later on in the show when Chris is going to explain how to properly clear your home.
I think a lot of people just do that because of their fear. They're scared, they don't know what to do, and sage is the quickest thing to grab. But they're not understanding that there is a proper method and proper things to do first. Like when we go to boots on ground, I can't go up to the client and start aftercare until the astral team's done, until the place is scoped out, until the problem and the issue's resolved. Then I do aftercare. It's not going to do me any good to try to protect this person when the entity or whatever it is still there roaming. So there is a process in this paranormal, and a lot of people don't realize that's what it is. And saging is the end. Yep.
It's not the beginning, because it's not going to remove anything. So when we come back, we are going to switch gears and go to alien abduction. And what are the dangers with UFO investigation and abduction? And we got some new information to talk about later on in the show about the FBI and how they're targeting conspiracy theorists now, because conspiracy theorists are now considered domestic terrorists. So when we'll come back, we'll get into the alien abduction and the UFO side.
You are listening to S4 on Spreaker.com.
Come get spooked at the 4th Annual Forest Moon Paracon in Cedar-Woolley, Washington, Saturday, September 28th. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot. Speakers include Mike Morin and Jason Jordan, R. Keith Andrews, and Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and so much more. There will be workshops and a VIP roundtable. Get early bird tickets now at fmparacon.com.
We've had several days of 80-degree plus weather here in Concrete, Washington. My family's favorite way to keep cool in this heat is to stop by Java Zone 2 and grab a delicious iced latte for me and a blended mocha for my husband. Our son just loves their creamy milkshakes, and our daughter can't get enough of their ice cream. The best part is, Java Zone 2 is conveniently located just off Highway 20 beside Loggers Landing. And I'm proud to shop local for a business that has been a staple of the Concrete and Upriver community since it opened its doors in 2010. So if you're looking for a way to keep cool in this summer heat, come check out Java Zone 2. They're fast, friendly, and local.
Hello, my name's Cole Wegleitner with Statement of Sound DJ Productions. We do mixing, monitoring, recording, and editing for all your audio needs. For our local listeners in the Skagit area, we are taking bookings for your 2019 events and parties. We have a wide array of music from any genre. Please allow us to help you make these memories last forever. Contact us at 360-999-2830 or on Facebook at www.facebook.com/SOSDJPro.
Forest Moon Paranormal is a non-for-profit emergency response team that handles all aspects of the paranormal, helping you, your family, friends, and community since 2004. Whether you're having a problem with hauntings, spirits, Bigfoot, other types of cryptids, or UFO activity. Maybe you're just unsure of what's bothering or terrifying you. Or maybe you're just afraid of criticism and disbelief. FMP is here for you. We handle cases globally and locally from our headquarters in Skagit County, Washington. We never accept any form of payment for our services and are 100% confidential. You can find us on Facebook under Forest Moon Paranormal. You can private message us for assistance, or just come join in the discussion and become part of our growing FMP community.
Are you having encounters with the paranormal, supernatural, or ufological that you cannot explain? Look no further than the SOR Sightlines Report, brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association. This is Ryan Stacy, head of the Research Association, TESSA. Soon on the Spaced Out Radio website, you'll be able to file your reports and have them researched for you. We are independent and ready to help Spaced Out Radio listeners today.
Join us on September 28th at the Cedro-Woolley Community Center for 2019 Forest Moon Paranormal Paracon. VIP All Access passes on sale now at fmparacon.com. Your pass includes all-day admission to see the speakers and workshops, the Ghost Walk, a special VIP workshop, a special round table with the speakers, a Paracon t-shirt, and an FMP Paracon swag bag. These tickets can be purchased from fmparacon.com. Get yours today.
Hey everyone, Cole here with S4 Paranormal Radio, the official voice of Forest Moon Paranormal. Looking for a way to get the word out there about your business, group, team, or product? Let us help you. A few clicks is all it takes to get started at s-4radio.com, or you can contact me at 360-999-2830.
Welcome back to S4 with your host, Eric Cooper.
All right, welcome back. So tonight we're talking the dangers of the paranormal. Is there anything dangerous to it? And now, second hour, we're going to talk about the alien abduction and UFO investigation side. So what are some of the dangers, guys, of UFO investigation? Cole, I know you want to say it. Where did Cole go?
He ran off a minute ago.
Okay.
Implants. Implants is a danger.
I'm right here.
Right from the heart, going abduction.
So, is there a threat to an investigator being abducted?
Not much of one in all.
Yeah.
And I would agree. You're not going to be abducted depending on who's doing the abducting. Now, if it's a my lab, there's a good chance you're going to have the eyes of the government on you. Not the alien race that's doing the abducting, but the government themselves, because, well, frankly, they don't like competition.
Trust me on this, there is no competition there.
So,
you know, if you're investigating a potential abduction, it's kind of like investigating where it comes to the danger to the team. It's kind of like worrying about a forest fire while you're investigating the results of the forest.
right. Now, I think as an investigator, if I came across a landing site, I'd be worried about trace radiation. If you actually find a landed craft, which, well, that's very rare, I wouldn't touch it because you might get radiation burns. You might get radiation sickness. That's been documented through history of various people that actually touched the craft. So those some of the dangers. Of course, you still got your slips, trips, and falls. You still got environmental hazards. You've got wildlife hazards. You've got people also chasing UFO with guns,
which has always been a fascinating idea.
I'm not even talking about the government side.
Oh no!
It's a very fickle field in that there's this competition thing of I saw the UFO first, so yeah, you become a threat to them because you might take all the credit for it. That's just something you got to think about, and it goes into the psychiatric factor.
Keith, I got a question for Keith. If there's one spacecraft that comes down and crashes and somebody sees it, do they, a lot of them, off-worlders, will they travel alone, or is there usually another spacecraft in the distance kind of keeping an eye on them? And would that be a danger if you see one crash and you go towards it? Wouldn't you be in danger of more coming?
Depending on the race involved, the answer is more often than not. If it is a research setup, yeah, they've got backup floating around somewhere. If it's an actual accident, the only other person is probably dead.
Using Roswell as an example, because didn't Roswell have like three bodies? One of them was alive.
5. 2 of which were alive, 1 of which they kept. The other one was away.
Okay. And Starflower wants to know what's the difference between a MyLab and alien abduction. Well, a MyLab is simply a military abduction. That is where the military is involved with certain races in the abduction. A normal alien abduction is simply the alien races involved. That's the difference. But with the MyLab, it brings on additional threats to the team in question. Because the threats to the team in question, especially with our astral team, is if we go investigate a MyLab, they have their own remote viewers, their own astral team securing the site, basically. They have an overwatch, and they can follow us back, which is why we have measures in place to protect our team. But they can still track you. Does that make sense?
To me, it does. Mm-hmm. Of course, that's not necessarily a good gauge, but...
So that's really the main reason that FMP stopped with abductions for the time being until we can find out safer protocols for the team.
Yeah, we'll have to discuss that in detail at the end of September here.
Exactly. For the time being, we will take it on a case by case, but if there's any indication of it being a MyLab, then we won't be involved for that fact.
Eric, in your experience with the abduction, stuff like that, I've talked about the light bulbs on the hill and stuff coming back and stuff, but nothing is happening. How long would it take for an abduction to start? I mean, do they really walk for a certain amount of time, or does that just happen right away, or is there any way of knowing that?
You're getting really muffled.
Yeah, it's really hard air in this space. The light that's back in there is consistent, but there's not anything really happening. How long would it take for, say, them to decide they wanted to abduct a person?
So, generally speaking, the abductees, and I'll get to that, Trip. So, Trip's got a great question in the chat room I'll get to here in a minute. But with abductions, they generally don't just take random people. The abductees that they're taking today will have ties. When you ask them, they'll actually have historical with their parents, with the grandparents, and oftentimes they'll skip a generation. So if the parents weren't abducted, the grandparents were. It's usually a family line that they're watching. They're watching for genetic manipulation.
Well, I think I'm the first cool person in my family, so I'm just wondering if I might be a potential.
I would look at your family ties. I would look at your, your family history, your family stories, things of that nature. If they reported UFO sightings a lot, and then they had missing time, if they had strange marks, scoop marks on their body, the general pattern of signs and symptoms that we always talk about on the show is what I look at. So Trip is asking.
For you then.
Say again?
Maybe they're here for you then.
We'll talk later. So Trips wanting to know, has anyone found out if MUFON is connected with my labs? No. I stay away from MUFON. And I don't want to sit here and bad mouth. I can speak from experience. When I was with them in the 90s, I was not impressed. I only stayed with them for a year, and then I left.
You stay fun. I stay away from my labs.
Well, yeah, both. But as far as are they tied with my labs? That's debatable. I just know they seemed back then to be more of a debunking agency or organization. They didn't take care of their experiencers. They're there more to prove that UFOs were not real and the abductions were not happening. So I left. Because back then, this is back in 97, 98, I was in the abduction field in 94, so I knew abduction was really going on. So when an organization that's supposed to be investigating UFOs is ridiculing their experiencers and saying abduction wasn't real, I want nothing to do with them. But yeah. The UFO field in general has had such a turmoil and upside down in the last year that it's really hard to know who to trust. The only one I do trust, obviously, besides FMP, is Newfork. And that's a National UFO Reporting Center with Peter Davenport. So, Don, what do you think about abduction?
I think, as far as safety goes, or as just in general?
The safety side.
I don't know how I'd like. This is something I'm not really too familiar with, to be honest with you. It's just like, how do you save yourself from being abducted? Like, what can you do, really?
So, and that's a good point. So, how do you keep yourself from being abducted? That really hasn't been proven, other than as far as the team goes, raising vibrations has kept a lot of the alien races from being able to come in. So what is raising vibrations? Raising vibrations is basically keeping positive. Some music, some calming music will help with raising vibrations. I can't explain it.
Shielding helps too. I had a conversation about this with Keith.
Okay.
Yeah, it does. You know, the funny part about it is it depends on the race, but for the most part that works. There are certain races where you're pretty much hooped from the get-go.
Right.
Now, because they happen to have better, if you will, infiltration systems than what humans have developed in the way of defense, for the most part.
So what are some of the... Let's talk about abduction a little more in depth. So what are some of the races that we could see as a threat? Keith?
Well, I'm gonna put a little bit of a kink in that.
Okay.
Define threat.
Well, and that's the problem. So what humans see as a threat, we do. So when you're talking about the scientific side of alien abduction, we do the same thing to animals.
Exactly.
We'll go out, using upriver for example. They'll go out. They'll tranquilize an elk. They'll put a tracking device on the elk, and they'll let him go. That's what alien abduction is, minus the medical experiments, the scoop marks, the taking samples, things like that. But humans do the same thing to animals. The reason we see it as a threat is because we are here for the client. That's what FMP does. So those races are a threat on that level. Now,
but that, I think the biggest one you really got to worry about is the Tormenon. Because the Tormenon are the one race that, quite frankly, they are mercenaries. They will abduct people for literally, and the people they abduct, they don't return.
Right.
Okay, that's the first thing you got to realize is those are the ones that will take somebody and you'll never see them again.
What do they look like? What's the description of them?
The best way to identify to really get a clear picture is take a look at the movie Jupiter Ascending. That critter is a Tormenon.
So what kind of a craft do they fly?
Well, would you believe me if I said combat vessel?
Oh yeah, I kind of figured that. But what's it look like? Is it a cigar shaped? Is it a disc? Is it an orb?
It is more. Quite literally, it's more akin to a F-15 shape, except interstellar, interplanetary capable. You know, they're definitely an atmospheric ship, and the maneuverability makes the best of the best planes on the planet look like a tricycle.
So, moving along with that, what continent would they be on the most?
On the most, you're likely to see the most in Asia, but only for one reason. Asia happens to be the bigger continent.
Okay, and I bring that up because we haven't focused this on the show a whole lot, but there are some races that focus specifically on certain continents. Some races are everywhere. But you'll find, for example, the Nordics are mostly in Europe. They are here too, but most of the time you'll hear about them in European cases.
Yeah, because the Nordics that are here are usually right with the Greys.
Right.
And they're usually on board. They don't usually come off ground.
Okay.
Okay. See, the reason the Nordics are with the Greys is because humans tend to get real anxious when they see these short, little, big, bug-eyed people. So the Nordics walk in, and it seems to help calm the humans down. Because Nordics look almost identical to humans.
So let's focus on that real quick. What races are specific to other continents?
Okay. The Chitauri, which are actually an ancient race, they evolved on Earth. They're in Africa. When you look at the Quaddle, they are down in South America and Central America.
And what's their purpose?
Well, the Quaddle are literally their research. They do like their control. They like their showing. But they are, how do I put this? They're specialists in agriculture.
Okay.
And what they're here for is to help the local peoples in stabilizing their environment, or more to the point, adapting to their environment in order to prosper. They are actually a very benevolent race.
Okay. And that's good to hear. You always hear about malevolent.
Yeah, no, they're very definitively benevolent. The Chitauri, quite frankly, they're neighbors. Okay, they're neighbors to the African people. They are not a violent race. Of course, they will defend themselves in no uncertain way.
Well, I think any of them will, won't they?
Most of them will, yeah. There are some that just simply go to ground. Like, you will seldom see pixies trying to defend themselves. Something about only being 4 inches tall. Geckoids have the same problem. They run like you would not believe.
So, what was the race? Oh, God. Well, let's see. It was in the movie back in the 90s, Arrival. The race in the Charlie Sheen movie whose knees inverted.
That have which?
They couldn't move fast, but their knees inverted and they could run. Their knees went backwards.
I'm trying to remember if I actually saw the movie. Because I'm thinking the great... Try that again?
Go ahead.
Yeah, because I thought Arrival was one with the octopods.
That was The Arrival.
That was the... Oh, okay. I seem to remember it. I would be inclined to say, and I'd have to go back and look, but I would be inclined to say you're probably looking at Martokian.
That's okay. We've talked about it before, but yeah, I couldn't remember exactly the name of that race. What were you going to say, Don?
Oh, I didn't say anything.
Okay. So, getting back to violent races, was that one the only violent race? What about the Teklex?
The Teklek, well, I guess you'd call them, abductors. They're hunters. So yeah, if they pick you up, you're pretty much toasted before you get off the deck.
Humans taste like chicken. Yeah, that'd be the Teklex, and they're also on a cigar-shaped craft, correct? And it seems that we've dropped Spreaker. It never fails. So I will pull, not Spreaker, Skype. So I'm sitting here talking for a second while I pull Skype back in. I'm pretty sure everybody's still in the call. You just can't have a show without some kind of technical issue. It never fails. Hold on a second here. But it always seems to, it just has to happen, in the middle of the show. Are we still on trip? Okay.
Okay.
I just love Skype. Skype
There we go.
Got to drop everybody. All right. So, yeah, we were live. I just kept on chatting. Let me see who we still are missing.
We're still missing Chris. We're still missing Matt.
Yeah.
So when did we drop off? Any idea?
Just like a minute ago.
Okay.
I caught it rather quick. So
Hello.
There we go.
We're all back.
Starflowers in the chat room says it keeps happening. It seems like it's done on purpose. Oh, believe me, it's not done on purpose. It's just technology that really sucks.
It's Chris's fault.
If we can find better technology than Skype for this show, then I'd definitely jump onto it.
To the consortium, they've got much better tech. It cuts right through all this garbage.
Well, Keith, if you could talk to the consortium for us and tell them we need better technology for communication for the show, then by all means.
Keith, I had a question before we dropped. You said the one race doesn't feel pain, basically.
Yeah,
is that for all races or just various few?
You mean do all of them not have pain center?
Correct. Do all off-worlders, they don't?
No, 99% of them do. The vegans are an oddity.
Oh. Okay.
I will be bringing a picture of them.
Outstanding.
Oh, okay.
And a hand-drawn picture of the vegans.
So, folks, you have to come to Paracon, because Keith will be at Paracon talking about alien abduction. And he'll have his, hopefully, part of his new book he's coming out with on alien races, their ships, their cultures, the whole 9 yards. I can't wait for it. It's going in my library.
I'm actually working on it right now.
Outstanding. So, the Teklex eat humans. I can't remember the name of the other one that you mentioned earlier that was a violent, aggressive race.
The Tormenon.
Tormenon. Anyone else?
When you look at the vegans, their problem, from the standpoint of they tend to leave a lot of mental trauma behind. The reason for that is because they do not understand nature at all. Right? And unfortunately, they're a lot stronger than humans. So when they go to force you onto the table, they've been known to rip off limbs quite by accident. Now they'll attack you again, but they don't understand why humans get so agitated about it.
Okay.
Right. They don't bother with trying to master it because they don't understand the fear part of it. Okay. The other group that is pain, the problem, is your answer. And the reason for that is because they don't care whether you're
right. So
they thrive on it.
Let's shift for a minute because I'm curious too. Here in the Pacific Northwest, and this would affect Dawn, this would affect us here in Washington. What races do we have the most often traveling through our skies?
Most often is your graves. Now
Okay.
those are the ones that most often do the abduction.
Right.
What you see a lot of times is the actual consortium scanner ships.
So
They
what's
are yes.
So what's a scanner ship for?
It is literally for research. In other words, all they do is they come through, they scan the radio waves, they scan what people are looking at on the internet. They will do the sonic, magnetic, and thermal imaging to watch migratory patterns.
Migratory patterns of humans?
Nomadic.
Say again?
I say, contrary to popular belief, humans are still nomadic.
Yeah.
Look at how often humans change the house they're living in.
Well, yeah.
Nomadic.
I'm rather boring. Well, I wasn't.
Yeah, right.
I wasn't for 19 and a half years. I was all over the planet, but yeah, now I'm rather boring.
I got a question for Keith. Another one.
Sure.
So, Keith, I've talked to you about myself personally meeting an alien in human form.
Yes.
My question is, well, that I can attest to they're definitely real. That my question is that one race that can do that, or is there multiple races that can take over? And do they take over, or do they make themselves human form?
You're going to love me for this one, but there are very few actual shapeshifters. Very few.
Okay.
Now, I can think right off the hand, the amoebics are absolute shapeshifters. Of course, they don't have a shape of their own, so that pretty much explains that.
Okay.
There are some that have technology that will throw a holographic overlay on it. Okay.
And they share.
Now, when you take a look at the Pleiadian hybrids, they can actually control their pigmentation, which can make them look human. They are, by appearance, they're human anyway. But they have control over their pigmentation, so they can change the skin color.
Oh.
Okay.
See, and this one that I met said that she took over the body.
Yeah, there are a couple of what you would call either symbiotes or they're literal hijackers.
Oh.
And what they do is they do either a spiritual jump, or there is one race that physically does.
So is that like a soul? Is it like a soul retrieval or a soul takeover?
Ultimately, yes. That's the best way to put it. It's actually spiritual.
But there's not a whole lot of races that do that, correct?
Very, very few.
Yeah. Great, and I had to be the one that met one of them.
Right.
I got a question for you, Keith.
I was just wondering where did Keith, he didn't go to college to study the aliens. How does he know so much about them? Did he get abducted and they taught him stuff and he's sharing it now?
Oh, I guess we need to. Sorry, I didn't realize you were behind the eight ball on that one. First, I've dealt with in excess of 50 races. Like hands-on, I mean.
Well, see, I think that's where people get confused because, when we're all sitting back here and we're hearing about the one alien that they've hit at Area 51, and you got all these races and stuff. How do we find out the rest of that stuff?
Well, you can try my method. You can get abducted multiple times. I don't recommend that, by the way.
So they share their secrets when they abduct you, then?
Do they which?
Well, do they tell you why they're abducting you then, what they're trying to learn and what...
I know exactly why they're abducting me. They're trying to understand humans, and they figure I've got a better understanding of them than they do.
No.
Primarily because I do not fear the off-worlders at all.
Yeah, right, but but they take you, and they're taking their information about you then, and they just assume we're all like that, or
oh, Lord,
a lot of people being abducted.
They made that mistake. They know I'm an anomaly.
I think we're safe to say Keith is a very, very, very old soul.
Yeah, that's a polite way of putting it.
A very old soul. He deals with 50-plus races. It's probably safe to say close to a day. And So, yeah, if we have questions about specific races, specific incidents, Keith is our go-to.
So are there more?
I've got a
Keiths
question.
Say again, Jamie?
Well, are there more Keiths out there then? I mean, that you know all this stuff.
There's only one Keith. There is only one Keith.
There are other people that know, yes. Most of them, sad to say, I found out that there are probably another half dozen or so that are similar to me as far as the interaction goes. The downside, from what I understood, about 10 years ago, I knew of about a half a dozen of those. 5 of which were locked up permanently in nut houses.
Just wait till Paracon. Jamie, just wait till Paracon. When you meet him and you talk to him, you're not going to want him to leave.
Well, not to mention Jamie will be at the speaker barbecue.
Yeah. Oh, wait till you meet him in person.
Yep.
Wait a minute. We're barbecuing speakers?
We are.
Awesome.
That's how we start the weekend.
So, Matt, you had a question.
Yes. I had a question for Keith. So, my mother got me to watch that movie, The Fourth Kind, the other day. Very interesting movie. And at the end, you said that, from what I'm understanding, abductions can happen, then they return you back to the earth. Okay, if that's the what?
On the whole, yes.
Most of the time.
And
Most of the
usually
time,
they
but
come back nicely.
Depends on which race it is.
If you remember, Matt, in that movie, her daughter never returned.
That's what I'm trying to get at. Like, they kept her, or... I mean,
Now, what would they do in
something.
that? What would they do, Keith? Would that be if they abducted a 6-year-old? Would they keep her somewhere else for hybrid, or is that what they would do?
You know, the variations on that are incredible. More often than not, if you've got a 6-year-old kid you picked up, there's one of two possibilities. Okay, one, you got to look at the history of what was going on prior to picking the kid up, because the kid may have been one of theirs.
Oh.
Okay, I don't recall actually seeing the movie myself. But the first question I'd be asking is, was it actually the human parents, or was there an extra parent that they weren't aware of?
Right. It's supposed to be based on a true story out of Homer, Alaska.
Excellent
and it
movie.
deals with the psychologist, yes.
Yeah, it's based on a true story. PBR has a question for you too, Keith. Do you have any scoop marks on your legs?
I used to have, in all fairness, I really don't like looking at my legs. I used to have a brand on them. Right, on the inside of my thigh, I used to have one heck of a brand that looked very similar to a meat tenderizer. But the same size, too. And that thing took months to heal.
Right, and as we've talked on the show before, a lot of times scoop marks will close themselves off. The skin will actually close over. Correct?
They're used.
Will. Because you got to.
They're used.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
You got to remember, the human body's skin replaces itself regularly. So scoop marks will be filled in. Brands will be replaced. The scars are a different thing. Okay, because scars are a lot deeper. A brand is only surface. It's only the top 3 or 4 layers, really.
Mm-hmm. So PBR is saying he's got a scoop mark 4 inches above his ankle.
That would be normal. Yeah, the whole thing with scoop marks, I find, is keep an eye on them, because you're likely to find that you can watch them shrink. Not always, but usually.
So, scoop marks are in different places. Does it depend on the race where the scoop mark is, or is it the same race always doing the same scoop marks in the same places? Or
No, in all fairness, it depends on the experiment they're doing.
Okay.
Because on a subquantum level, the ankle holds different material than what the wrist does.
And the reason I ask is because we always talk about implants. You know, each race has their own implant, their own location of the implant, the different purposes of the implants. So, you know, our school mark's the same on that regard.
No, scoop marks, they're using, on the whole, they're using basically the same tool.
Okay.
So, when you're dealing with scoop marks, it's kind of like dealing with taking blood. There's only so many you can get it.
Right. And that was kind of what I was wondering. If it
and
didn't
Eric,
really matter.
You take
an Eric
way of getting blood. It's a whole lot less polite than what most of the rest of them use.
Right. Say again, Chris?
And Eric, for people that don't know, how big are implants?
So, oh God, let's see. The implants we've dealt with, they can be the size of a really tiny BB. They can look. Oh God, let's see. What is it? 1 to 2 inches in the shape of a T. Is that about accurate, Keith?
The one that is in the shape of 1 to 2 inches. You're probably on the big side of the two.
Right.
You're probably more often than not you're only looking at a half an inch.
So with implants, it depends on the race, and it depends on the purpose of the implant. So a lot of the times the implant is behind the ear, at the base of the neck, in the nasal cavity.
I'm actually going to be bringing a picture of the tool that they use for that triangle pad.
Excellent.
So I got
I
another
have a question.
Go ahead, Matt.
How do the aliens actually put the implants in the human body?
Well, that depends on the race, but the easy way is by microcellular kinesis. In other words, basically speaking, what they do is they split the atoms in your skin to slide it in without a mark.
Yep.
Okay.
What about the one in the brain?
That's usually done that way because what they don't want to do is damage the human brain any more than it already is.
Right.
The one behind that is a mechanical device.
Now, I just want to clarify something because I hear Matt going, "Oh my God." The implant in the human brain, that is rare. We have encountered 2 clients that have the implant in the brain, and with these clients, there's not much we can do. But it's not a negative experience with these 2 clients. What it is, it creates a hologram. Now, the negative side of this, with one of them anyway, the hologram wouldn't go away. So he's driving down the road, going to work, whatever, and he's still seeing the hologram. And what that is an upload-download of information. It's an open channel between that race. They're dumping information. They're taking information. That's a rare implant. Now, what would be the importance of that particular abductee, Keith? Why would... We know they're rare, so how do they pick that particular abductee for that particular implant?
That would have to do with that person's mobility, the types of areas they end up getting into, the type of people that they're around, not necessarily associating with. But, for instance, we have to realize that Hollywood itself, the actors in Hollywood, are cultural phenomena. Okay, now if you're trying to get an idea of how that works, pick somebody that's always around them, that is not security, that is just a normal run-of-the-mill person that's going to witness them all.
Right.
So you'd grab, for instance, a waitress out of a well-known coffee shop or well-known restaurant. Okay. because they're the ones that will be able to get, if you will, the unabridged version of what's going on.
Okay, since we've opened the door to implants, we'll go ahead and keep on talking about implants. So there are implants that are put in the legs, the feet, the toes, the arms, and the hands. Many of these implants are tracking devices. Basically, they are there so you're tired of being abducted, you pack up your stuff, you move across the country, they're still going to find you.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not going to get away that easy.
No.
Although getting off the planet does screw them up if you can get to a black hole.
Or a Stargate.
I got a story for you, Eric.
What?
I don't think Keith knows this one. One of the team members contacted me, and she was seeing spaceships, and every time she drove, there was one that followed her, a spaceship that followed her. So she contacted me, and I know I told you about this, and Brent scanned her, and he found an implant. Or more than one, I can't remember. Oh, no, it was just one. Well, when Brent went in to deactivate it, or surround it with the energy, is what the astral team does. They surround it with energy and zap it, and it just kind of disengages it. But when that happens, then the aliens are going to come down. Brent actually had a conversation with this alien in astral and said, why are you bothering her, blah, blah, blah. I don't know what the conversation was. But you know that alien actually disabled that implant and left her alone. Yeah. Interesting, huh?
You know what?
It depends on the purpose. You know, because we've had that happen before where we've disengaged the implant, the aliens come down. Oftentimes they'll cut their losses, they'll leave. You know, our very first abduction that we stopped, he's never, and it's been 3 years that he's been abducted. And he went from 3 abductions a day to 0. So it can be done. It can be done. But the risk to the team with some of these abductions is too great.
Right.
So, you know we can stop them.
Right.
The Greys will usually cut their losses. They'll usually leave. The reptilians, on the other hand, are the aggressors, and we have to go to combat with them.
Yeah, we've got to realize that when we talk about reptilians, that I'm aware of, there are at least 9 different races that are reptilian by appearance.
Right. Okay, so the reptilians that work with the Greys, to be more specific.
Yeah,
I just thought it was kind of interesting that a human in astral could actually communicate with, I don't know, you can't call him or hers, it's just an alien.
Right.
But the alien actually listened and did that. So, I mean, I thought that was kind of cool. Brent thought it was pretty neat, too.
Indeed.
Number one, you can call them him and hers because there are him and hers. Of course, in many alien races, there's him, hers, and it.
Right.
Oh.
Okay. And they're really not that hard to tell apart. At least not once you know how. But
yes, that's the key. Brent says, I think it was a him.
Go by feeling. I would go by feeling on that one. If it feels, if they feel masculine, then it's probably a him.
Yeah. Brent said he's not going to feel them.
Not literally. Come on now. Okay, so we're actually getting down to close to the top of the second hour. And real quick, so there's one other implant I want to hit on, and it is a specialized implant that you will find with hybrids. Because think about it. You have a hybrid down here, and they go to see a doctor, and they get their blood drawn. If they didn't have this implant, you would think their blood or their DNA would come back different. So I do believe there's an implant specialized for hybrids to keep their bodily systems human appearing.
Exactly. And humans' modern technology cannot differentiate between modified blood cells and real ones.
Okay. So is that because we don't have the technology to determine that?
That and the fact that most doctors don't believe it's possible in the first place.
That's why they keep Garcia up here.
I can see that. Say it again, Jamie.
That's why they have Garcia up here.
Oh, we won't go there. Nope.
Avoided detection.
We won't open that door. So Tripp is saying, rumor has it that stud finders have been used to find implants. I'm not aware of that. Are you aware of that at all, Keith?
Yeah, I'm not real good with with human technology, but it doesn't make sense that it would work. I'm not debating there's rumor. But
right.
Considering the iron-based implants, it doesn't make sense it would work.
And what's interesting is a lot of the abductees you talk to, they've had X-rays taken. They've been to the doctor because they have a raise in their skin. But X-rays won't pick up on implants. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Is there a technology to mask them from X-ray?
Well, yeah. Basically, what they're doing and what they're picking up in an X-ray is there's a holographic overlay on the implant to make it look like it's standard muscle or what have you.
Okay, and that explains a lot.
See, mankind actually has a technology similar. Okay, if you go to Japan, they actually have a projector that they mount on the front of trucks that shows what's in front of that. They have the projector on the front. It relays to the back wall, and it prints what you see on the front in front of the semi. It puts that image on the back door, so that when you as a driver want to actually pull out and pass, you know what you're coming up against. The same kind
Does that holographic throw off energy, Keith?
It does. But we are talking about working on the subquantum, subphotonic levels.
Is that what Astral's picking up then?
Yes.
Okay.
Modern tech won't pick it up very often. But Astrals, on the other hand, are not exactly what we call modern tech.
Right. Okay, any last comments, Keith, on the abduction and the threats to a team?
Well, the nice part about it from any team standpoint is it's the threat of actual abduction, or for that matter, of running into the people involved, is very minimal.
It's more of the human threat through either government agencies or non-government agencies that are also searching for the same UFO or the same alien is more of a threat to the humans, to the team, from the team standpoint, than the actual alien and the threat of abduction.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I completely would agree with that. That's been our experience as well. Now, being on the astral, that came up today, actually. So being astral, you can be hurt. You can die. So when it comes to astral combat with some alien races, we have had team members that were basically hit with an energy burst from an alien race, and they immediately went to sleep. They were completely incapacitated from the case that we were on.
Absolutely. And that makes total sense. Because, I mean, humans have the basics for that technology.
Right.
So the fact that the off-worlders have developed it to a higher level is not a shock.
All right, so how can one protect them? Is there anything, I know we talked about shielding, but is there anything one can do to keep them off the radar, so to speak, of being abducted?
I wish I could give you a definitive answer on that one, but there are as many ways of tracking humans as there are people. So, I mean, you got to remember, one of the ways that they track humans is by watching the airflow around the people.
Okay.
Okay. Matthew's echolocation.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's going to wrap up. You got anything to add, Dawn?
No.
So how have the UFO sightings in California been going?
Honestly, they've been, from what I've seen, it's been pretty quiet.
It's the
I haven't
earthquakes.
I haven't seen anything too crazy, but I live by an airport, so I think everyone just assumes that they're airplanes.
Right. But you got some very unique races in California alone. The rogue comes to mind. You got anything to add, Keith, about races in California?
Well, I do like the rat folk, and we are when I'm talking rats, I am literally referring to they're only about 6 inches tall at most, extremely high tech. Right, these are the guys. Them and the geckoids are both about the same size. That's an interesting fight to watch. But one of the bigger issues that you run into down in California is you've got more of the ancient races that are surfacing down there, especially with the new tectonic activity that's been going on.
Okay, so Tripp's got a question. This is what puzzles me. We can take an egg, shoot some sperm at it. Once conception occurs, we can and have kept embryos viable for 14 days in petri dishes and longer. Why do people keep getting abducted and even taken when a petri dish takes up less room? Don't use resources.
Actually, it has to do with subquantum transtemporal reconfiguration.
Okay, English.
It sounded like Swahili. Basically, they look at the minor changes that are taking place because of environmental and socioeconomic modifications that are happening on the planet at the time. That didn't help, did it?
No. They're looking at society's structure.
Well, it is. What they're looking for is changes that are so tiny that mankind ignores them altogether. Primarily because they don't know they're there.
Okay. And that makes sense. So we're going to wrap up the second hour. So that concludes the alien abduction and UFOs. When we come back, we're going to start hitting protection. Some interesting developments with the FBI and conspiracy theorists and Bigfoot. So stay tuned.
You are listening to S4 on Spreaker.com.
Come get spooked at the 4th Annual Forest Moon Paracon in Cedar-Woolley, Washington, Saturday, September 28th. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot. Speakers include Mike Morin and Jason Jordan, R. Keith Andrews, and Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and so much more. There will be workshops and a VIP roundtable. Get early bird tickets now at fmparacon.com.
We've had several days of 80-degree plus weather here in Concrete, Washington. My family's favorite way to keep cool in this heat is to stop by Java Zone 2 and grab a delicious iced latte for me and a blended mocha for my husband. Our son just loves their creamy milkshakes, and our daughter can't get enough of their ice cream. The best part is, Java Zone 2 is conveniently located just off Highway 20 beside Loggers Landing. And I'm proud to shop local for a business that has been a staple of the Concrete and Upriver community since it opened its doors in 2010. So if you're looking for a way to keep cool in this summer heat, come check out Java Zone 2. They're fast, friendly, and local.
Hello, my name's Cole Wegleitner with Statement of Sound DJ Productions. We do mixing, monitoring, recording, and editing for all your audio needs. For our local listeners in the Skagit area, we are taking bookings for your 2019 events and parties. We have a wide array of music from any genre. Please allow us to help you make these memories last forever. Contact us at 360-999-2830 or on Facebook at www.facebook.com/SOSDJPro.
Forest Moon Paranormal is a non-for-profit emergency response team that handles all aspects of the paranormal, helping you, your family, friends, and community since 2004. Whether you're having a problem with hauntings, spirits, Bigfoot, other types of cryptids, or UFO activity. Maybe you're just unsure of what's bothering or terrifying you. Or maybe you're just afraid of criticism and disbelief. FMP is here for you. We handle cases globally and locally from our headquarters in Skagit County, Washington. We never accept any form of payment for our services and are 100% confidential. You can find us on Facebook under Forest Moon Paranormal. You can private message us for assistance, or just come join in the discussion and become part of our growing FMP community.
Are you having encounters with the paranormal, supernatural, or ufological that you cannot explain? Look no further than the SOR Sightlines Report, brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association. This is Ryan Stacy, head of the Research Association, TESSA. Soon on the Spaced Out Radio website, you'll be able to file your reports and have them researched for you. We are independent and ready to help Spaced Out Radio listeners today.
Join us on September 28th at the Cedro Woolley Community Center for 2019 Forest Moon Paranormal Paracon. VIP All Access passes on sale now at fmparacon.com. Your pass includes all-day admission to see the speakers and workshops, the Ghost Walk, a special VIP workshop, a special round table with the speakers, a Paracon t-shirt, and an FMP Paracon swag bag. These tickets can be purchased from fmparacon.com. Get yours today.
Hey everyone, Cole here with S4 Paranormal Radio, the official voice of Forest Moon Paranormal. Looking for a way to get the word out there about your business, group, team, or product? Let us help you. A few clicks is all it takes to get started at s-4radio.com, or you can contact me at 360-999-2830.
Welcome back to S4 with your host, Eric Cooper.
All right, welcome back to S4. You're here on our final hour, and we're talking dangers of the paranormal. What are the dangers, or are there any? So now we're going to talk about paranormal protection. How does one protect themselves more in depth? And we're going to talk about a unique hazard that's just coming up. It actually just hit in May. And we're going to talk about Bigfoot. I want to start with Bigfoot, because here's what's interesting. You watch these mountain monster TV shows and hunting Bigfoot TV shows and whatnot. And you see this guy, he's got his khaki shorts on, and maybe a pair of binoculars, maybe a gun. But he doesn't have a pack. He's not ready for the elements. He's definitely not ready for the woods. So now you've got Tom and Jerry, and they're watching the show, and they think, oh, that would be cool. I want to go out. I want to find Bigfoot. So they put on their khaki shorts, and they grab their binoculars, and they look just like the guy on TV. And they go out in the woods. And what is that background noise?
UFO.
So they go out, and oh my gosh, they get lost. That didn't happen on TV. So there you have a danger or a hazard, because paranormal TV doesn't show you what the dangers and the hazards are in the paranormal. But what do we do, Cole? And I know we haven't really done. How you doing, Lisa? Lisa's waving to the room. She's in the chat room. So what do we do before we even think about going in the woods?
We go
grab the guns
in the woods.
We grab the guns. We grab and I want to clarify: the guns are not to go hunting Bigfoot. I have Bigfoot in my backyard. I know that for a fact. I don't hunt Bigfoot. I like Bigfoot. Bigfoot is a protector. He's definitely not here to harm. Now, we're going to talk about Bigfoot harming, because that is the Awara.
Yes.
Not Bigfoot. The Awara is different than Bigfoot. The Awara is from off-world. Bigfoot is from our planet. He is from Earth. Now, Keith, I want you to clarify. So, is Bigfoot pre-human civilization?
Yes. Well, technically. Everything I've gathered around it, and I've run into arguments with people on this one all along, but Bigfoot is Gigantopithecus.
Okay.
A.K.A. one step before Neanderthal.
Right.
Do they go bald?
Only if you've got a razor.
I know. I'm honestly wondering, because like some dogs and everything, as they get older, they start to lose their hair and not be able to grow it back so well.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I've ever noticed. They're kind of like gorillas from that standpoint. They do go white, like their hair will turn white.
And that's the Yeti.
Well, no, the Yeti is just up elsewhere. It's like the humans can change their skin color. Certainly, just like Jackson did.
So the Yeti are basically changed to fit their environment.
Yes. They developed white coats because brown stood out so well, and and saber-tooth are very good at hunting to start with. They didn't need help.
Right.
Yes.
And that makes sense. So you hear cases of families that go hiking in the woods, individuals go hiking in the woods, and they talk about Bigfoot, and they got chased and they got attacked.
Well, I always ask one question there. Number one, what did they do to get Bigfoot to chase them? Because Bigfoot itself won't bother.
Right. And I think that's where the confusion between the Bigfoot and the Awara is.
Yeah.
Because the Awara is aggressive.
Oh,
so, can you go into a detail about the Awara for us?
Well, the biggest difference between the Awara and the Bigfoot, if you take a look at the footprint of the Bigfoot, it looks like an oversized human foot. Okay, I mean, it's basically the same shape. It's just thick. With the Awara, it looks much more like an 8-foot.
Okay.
And completely prehensile. Okay, opposable thumbs on the feet. Okay, they've got a much wider foot, and they still look very similar to Bigfoot. They do walk with a definitive punch, and absolutely have a funny gait because depending on how fast they're trying to move, they will run on all fours.
Have you caught him?
But of course, the big difference there is they'll hit the trees as fast as they hit the ground, which is why your footprint is bad.
Well, I'm sitting here thinking. So which one goes on all fours, the Awara or the Bigfoot?
The Awara.
Okay.
Bigfoot. The Bigfoot quite frankly walk. It just walks rather quick.
Right. So
Bigfoot's cool.
Could the Awara be mistaken for a bear?
It could if it's taking its time and if it's
You better see what he's waiting.
Okay.
The biggest difference between the Awara and a bear is if you startle a bear will stand up and it'll yell at you and it'll probably raise its arms, its forelegs up.
Right.
With the Awara, you startle it. Right. Number one, it'll raise up on its legs. But then it's going to do one of two things. Either throw something at you with extreme accuracy, or it's going to come looking for you.
Right.
And if it comes looking for you, you now count it missing in the woods.
So getting to Paracon, for those that are coming to Paracon, we're actually going to have Jason Jordan talking Bigfoot. And after his presentation, he's going to do a workshop on setting up a Bigfoot gifting site, which I'm going to set one up here at the house, as a matter of fact, because I talked to the kids, and we're doing a complete makeover of the house, and they're going through their toys because they're not going to be able to fit all their toys in their new bedrooms, and they're going to take their marbles because I know Bigfoot likes marbles. So I told them, get all the marbles together, and we're going to go set them up in the woods. We're going to set up a Bigfoot gifting site.
Yeah, I've been telling my kids to get their marbles together for years.
It didn't work, did it? Oh. So, Bigfoot seems to like marbles, marshmallows, and Matchbox cars. And I know Anthony's got a ton of Matchbox cars, marbles, and marshmallows. And we'll set them up in a gifting site and see what happens. I know PBR wants a picture, so we'll see if we can't get a picture. But you're not going to get a picture unless he wants to show himself. Now, hopefully we can convince him to show himself. That would be cool. And no, you will not see that picture.
So, question, Eric or Keith.
Mm-hmm.
If you're out in the woods and you actually come across a Bigfoot, obviously the size would intimidate a lot of people, and that first reaction would be to run. Would either one of you run, or would you slowly move away? What would you do? I don't think we've talked about this.
In my case, it's pretty cut and dried. I wouldn't run, and I wouldn't slowly walk away.
No, I wouldn't either. I'd probably go shake his hand.
Face to face.
I think we're about the same height.
You're the same height as Bigfoot? That's amazing. No, in all fairness, I wouldn't myself, because of what I've done and what I've already experienced.
Right.
I'd calm my energy down right away, and quite frankly, simply put, draw them closer. I mean, they're nice people.
So, what do you think a Bigfoot would do if they came face to face with you?
With the average person?
Yeah.
More often than not, they disappear into the woods or wherever they happen to be. And usually at a pretty good clip. Because they can outdistance man without a problem.
Well, I imagine being 7 foot tall, especially. And 7 foot tall is a small one. But they wouldn't have the same curiosity a human would?
They do, but they will keep their distance because they know humans are more skittish than they are. And the thing that the Bigfoot are worried about is human predilection to shoot first and ask second.
And this is true. This is true. Although I have heard cases where hunters actually saw a Bigfoot, and once they got him in their scope, it was almost like not really a voice, but a feeling came over them not to pull the trigger.
Yeah, and that is pheromonal release on the Bigfoot part.
Okay.
By putting out the right pheromonal outlay, they actually calm the human down. But since the Bigfoot is not an aggressive animal in the first place, it works relatively simple.
Okay. So, Chris.
Yes.
Let's take 15 minutes and go over how to properly protect and clear a home. What are some of the stones? What are some of the stones we use? What are some of the herbs we use? How do we clear a home and keep it protected?
Well, to clear the home after the investigation's done, after the problem is handled, then I work on the client first. I have to get the client grounded and shielded first. Then with the home, we do the staging or smudging, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And to correctly do that, you know, I've heard that you go clockwise, counterclockwise. I've heard both, but you have to get into every corner of the home, every room, every corner, every cupboard. You have to get that smoke into all places. Once that is, and you have a window open for ventilation, because you're clearing any negative energy that's in the home itself. And once that's done, then you use salt, because you have to clear every, I guess you could say, outlet to the home.
Mm-hmm.
So you do salt for doorways, windowsills, sinks, and toilets. And that's pretty much, that takes care of clearing it. And you can say any kind of saying when you do smudging. I have little sayings that I tell clients, and, you know, the negative energy may not stay. That's during the smudging process. I don't know, you put me on the spot when you tell me just to talk. You ask questions to everybody else, but not me.
Oh.
That's because the rest of us are on the ball and we go, no.
You know, what?
That's because the rest of us just look at him and go, no.
Oh, no, you don't.
But I think the most important thing is, like we said, there is a routine, and smudging is at the very end. It's the problem, and then it's the client with the grounding and shielding, and then it is the resident. You clear that.
And I'm going to add, so the bottom line, and it doesn't matter if it's a fae issue, a spirit issue, a malevolent any issue, some of the problems you can have with the dangers is getting attachments. And I want to hit that for a second, because a lot of teams, that's the biggest problem, I think, with some of these teams. They go running into Waverly Hills. They think it's really cool to go to the Northern State. They think it's cool to go to this hot spot, that hot spot. Got to get that picture. Got to get that EVP. Got to go here, go there. But they don't protect. And they get an attachment. So what is an attachment? An attachment is a spirit that can attach to you, a malevolent entity that can attach to you. It can change your personality. The most common physical pain areas are at the base of the neck and the base of the back, the lower back. And you'll actually have physical pain there. Those are the most common areas. It can attach other places, but those are the key points. They can change your personality. Someone that's normally really peaceful and calm will be angry and moody, or vice versa. And
they can get really, really bad. Not to interrupt you, but I need to fit this in while you're talking right here. Is one of my best friends came to visit me today, and she has a friend that her husband was in bad shape, went to the hospital last night. He's losing weight. You can see his back, his spine. He gets these anger outbursts, which are very, very violent, extremely violent. She says when he's in this violent mood, she can look at his eyes, and there's like nothing there. And she kept telling me, I think it's a demon. She says, I think he's possessed with a demon. So we got a picture, and I had Brent do a scan real quick, and it's an attachment. The guy can't eat, but he's had it forever. So they're terrible.
And that's common. That's common. I would say about 6 or 7 out of 10 cases. You know, you'll have a client that'll go into the group and they'll say, I'm possessed, or I've got a demon. And most of the time it is an attachment, because attachments can alter your personality. And they're not hard to remove, generally speaking. Now, if it's an attachment to a chakra, that's a completely different process. And we're not going to go into that, because that'd take too long. But chakras are your energy centers of your body. There are 7 of them. And if it's a chakra attachment, that's a different process altogether. Removal is depending on how, because we've had cases where an entity was actually completely wrapped around a chakra, and it's a process of trying to unravel the entity away from the chakra. So, generally speaking, if it's just an attachment, they're not hard for us to remove. And then, of course, you do the grounding and the cleansing with the client, and the case is done. I think education is important with clients, and that's why EC is so important, is once the problem is solved, you don't want the problem to come back. So you have to teach the client how to keep the problem from coming back, and give them their life back, give them their empowerment.
Yep.
And then they won't be a client anymore.
Right.
But the idea is you're supposed to begin, don't take this the wrong way, but you're supposed to get your clients to the point where they're not clients.
Exactly.
Right.
That's the point. That's the point.
Yep.
And then, you know, so we have 12,000 people in FMP. And it's a safe number to say about 10% of that 12,000 are clients or former clients. And, you know, when you do the math at 3 to 5 cases a day, those numbers add up. And, you know, once their case is done, they don't want to leave, because then they're curious. If the paranormal is that real, and generally speaking wasn't too hard to solve, they want to stick around and watch. And like you and Brent, Chris, you guys were clients, and you stayed on the team.
Right.
You know. And
well, it makes a big difference when you not see something. I didn't see it, but when I watched that energy vamp affect my employee, that makes you a believer.
Yeah, it's a little hard to argue it at that point, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, but we've always believed. But yeah, I mean, it's a learning experience, and we've come in and learned from you, Eric, and Keith, and you know, about the grounding and shielding, and it really makes you feel better. And I feel this is going to sound funny, but I feel safer to be out in public now. That I know that I'm in control of my own energy in my body, and the number one thing is it's all natural.
Right.
Nobody, when I teach it, I don't touch anybody. I can be across the room and teach them how to use the Earth's natural energy and make a protection. And I'll say this on the air, I have bad anxiety. And when I feel an anxiety attack come on, all I have to do is shield, boosting my own energy, my own protection. And, I've stopped three anxiety attacks already just by manipulating and building my own energy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing.
I can witness that because I've seen it.
Yep.
Yep. And, so Cole was a skeptic when he first joined the team until he actually saw the team in action.
Mm-hmm.
Is Cole still with us?
I am.
Okay.
I just still kind of a skeptic until I see a real probing.
Oh, hopefully you won't see one.
I don't get to be involved. I just sidelines.
Oh, no. Keith, where did the whole probing thing come from? I mean, I think probing is more media and more movies, and you saw more of the probing in Independence Day with, I can't remember his name, but he was the drunk pilot.
Randy Quaid.
Yep. And you saw probing mentioned or shown in Fire in the Sky with Travis Walton.
South Park?
Oh, South Park. Well, that's a cartoon.
What do you mean? That's real life, man.
Uh-huh.
Sad to say, most of that is very simply over-exaggeration on mankind's part.
Right.
However, for obvious reasons, it's easier to get multiple fluids from that access point than it is from just about any other point.
Okay.
The only exception there is the throat.
Right. Because, I mean, in Fire in the Sky, I think the scene that everybody remembers is when the needle's going into his eye.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And Travis Walton is strapped down, can't move, can't do anything, but scream.
They did that.
Say again?
I said, you can understand why they strapped him down to do that.
Oh, yeah. And, we were talking earlier, most of the off-worlders don't understand the pain aspect. They don't understand why is this human screaming.
Actually, no, that's not most of them. Most of them actually understand it full well.
Okay.
There's very few. There's only the one that I know of, the vegan.
The vegan,
that
okay.
They do not get it. It's not that they don't care, it's that they don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them understand it, they just don't know how to compensate. One of the biggest problems that abductors had to start with was that they didn't understand the amount of pain that people were going through. So what they do is they'd overload on the anesthetic, right, on the painkiller.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they developed a mental overlay. Because they found that trying to find a painkiller that worked on a human without killing him was problematic.
Right.
It was like the problem that the seafarers had when they tried taking humans down to their home. I mean, it was really sad and twisted, but it was understandable why they were screwing things up.
So when did they start experimenting with their pain medications? Do you have an idea?
Yeah, back before the Roman Empire.
Okay. So I know abductions have been documented probably a lot longer, but there were a lot of child abductions in Italy and England in the 12th and 13th centuries.
Yeah.
And I don't remember which race that was either. but that's actually where the Order of the Black Swan came from. And we've gone over that in the show, so I'm not going to go into it again. But, it's interesting. So many people think abduction is a new phenomenon. It's really not. It was really, I guess, researched and brought to the forefront in about the 80s or 90s. But it's been discussed and it's been documented since the 12th, 13th century. So I'm going to bring some new news. It just came out recently. And it makes sense, but at the same time it's disturbing. And that's, as of May, I believe the actual document that I've got in front of me just got released in July. But the FBI has now considered conspiracy theorists as domestic terrorists. And they have that. So if you really want to get technical, they can sit here and listen to a show like ours. What do they consider a conspiracy?
Well, I'm hoping you've got something written there, because I know what I would consider it if I were looking for conspiracies there.
Well, one thing they're looking at is QAnon, which I'm really not 100% sure who QAnon is. Is that anonymous?
I'd be guessing.
Does anyone know?
No.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think QAnon is who they call anonymous. But they've got all these... So they've got all these examples of conspiracy theorists that went radical over New World Order, over... let's see... So, 27 October 2018, an identified individual killed 11 people, injured several others at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. According to a criminal complaint filed in U.S. District Court, according to a copy of his social media postings obtained via open source. Now, it's still illegal for the FBI to, without a warrant or without probable cause, spy on normal people. They have to have probable cause. I think my concern is you have a show like S4. We talk about some controversial subjects. We talk about the New World Order. We've talked about Bilderberg. Are they going to label us as terrorists? Things you have to look at. This is what I consider a danger to the paranormal. Being in Homeland Security, I have to look at it like, every federal agency in the military has a different definition of what a terrorist is. They all do. And to me, an extremist is an extremist. You have 11 billion extremist groups just in the United States alone that are non-Islamic. And they're fine as extremists until they act. The minute they act, that's what defines them as a terrorist. So you take this guy, and I'm looking, after I read most of their cases and what they call conspiracy theorists, you could actually turn it around and label it as a religious or a political attack, not a conspiracy attack. You look at, recent history, 9/11 was a conspiracy theory until it came out, documented, that the government knew it was going to happen before it happened. That changed it from a conspiracy theory to fact. It's in my Homeland Security textbooks that the intelligence agencies actually warned the White House when and who was going to attack American soil. They knew it. They turned a blind eye. They let it happen because they wanted to go to Iraq. So, when you see it in university textbooks that are taught to Homeland Security, and even a lot of the Homeland Security professors that I've talked to can attest to the fact that our intelligence agencies knew it was going to happen. And they told the appropriate people it was going to happen. And some of them got fired. Some of them got told to shut up. That's not a conspiracy anymore. That makes it fact. So, something that came out in this document too is they're afraid that, you know, us conspiracy theorists, I say us loosely because I'm a paranormal emergency response team, not a conspiracy team. But some of the topics you delve into in the paranormal can be seen as conspiracy. Look at Area 51, the Storm Area 51 event that's going to happen in September. Is that a conspiracy? Is it a conspiracy that we have UFOs and aliens on Area 51?
See, I'm a little bit of a loss on that one. I mean, quite frankly, the whole thing seems a little ill thought out.
Right?
Now, when you're talking about, because of how poorly it's thought out, the one thing I have found with most conspiracy theorists, they think things through rather logically. Right. This whole issue of the assault does not sound like it's been thought out at all, never mind logically.
I think what they're missing, the point that they're missing, they're trying to label somebody. And conspiracy theorists are easy to label. But in every aspect of society, we have radicals, you know, and it's leaders that should be held accountable. Whether, you know, if I was sitting here putting crazy thoughts in the FMP team's head and they went out and acted illogically, then I should be held accountable. I think some of these folks with YouTube channels that are pushing the New World Order, targeting individuals, targeting specific groups, that might lead to one of their followers acting on it. They should be held accountable. I don't think it should be just, let's label all conspiracy theorists or conspiracy theories as domestic terrorists. I think that's where it's wrong. I think that's where it's missing the point. Y'all are too quiet. You got thoughts on this?
Not have thoughts, no.
Got it. Confusing.
Huh?
The thing, whenever I'm looking at the whole idea of where the boundary is when a conspiracy theorist is talking about a potential conspiracy, is one thing. When they start talking about derailing governments or different agencies, whatever they are, or different companies, now you're dealing with what the FBI could quite conceivably look at, in my opinion, as a potential terrorist. The moment you start talking about derailing something, now you've got a problem.
Mm-hmm. Because the way they have it broke down right now, they have religious terrorists, they have political terrorists, they have the environmental animal rights terrorists. And I call them terrorists because with the animal rights and the environmental impact, you've got Greenpeace, who is going out derailing radioactive waste trains. They're putting spikes in trees to kill loggers as they're cutting the trees down. You got the animal rights side, who's blowing up and destroying animal labs. So in essence, they're killing the animals while they're doing it. But
yeah,
they're causing millions of dollars of damage. That is a terrorist act. With Christian Identity Movement, they're the ones that are assassinating doctors, blowing up abortion clinics, attacking Planned Parenthood. Those are religious rights. Those are religious extremists or terrorists. The Islamic, you got ISIS, Al Qaeda. Those are Islamic terrorists. They all fall under the religious umbrella. When you got political, you've got, I get attacked, essentially, when I say militia. But militia groups, patriot groups, things of that nature, the ones that are anti-government, you can be anti-government, you can hate the government, but the minute you start attacking the government, that's when you become a terrorist. So that's where it breaks
down. Clear up how you think it's going to affect the paranormal. That's where I'm stuck.
I don't know. It depends. They leave it wide open. They don't leave it, they don't. Basically, I think if we on S4 were to come out and say, such and such and such and such, we need to attack these guys, then we can be held accountable. I know specifically they mentioned Pizzagate. They mentioned QAnon. So I think it depends on how they break it down. And I think it's going to really fall down on the Department of Justice on how they fine-tune this. This is new. It just came out.
Yeah.
But it leaves the First Amendment wide open because it's our First Amendment rights to come out and talk about this. Now, when we start encouraging people to be radical over it, is when it opens that door to be investigated.
Right.
I just wanted to bring it up because it's something we need to be aware of.
Ow.
What's your thoughts, Don?
I'm scared about that because it leaves the door wide open to what the government deems as negative or whatever, and it kind of just, without the parameters being set, without any precedence in the courtroom, it's kind of hard to say that they're going to just let it be the terrorists versus just someone just silencing people.
So, I guess my concern too with that is what are they going to specify as what a conspiracy is? I mean, it used to be UFOs and talking about UFOs was part of that conspiracy genre. So is MUFON and UFO investigations and things like that going to be a conspiracy? Or is it only...
I would worry about my labs.
Well, they won't find my labs as conspiracy.
If they... Well, they might, because if they're trying to cover up for the government, then what easier way than if you're talking about my labs, that you're a conspiracy theorist, now we can label you a terrorist, and it'll stop you from talking about or investigating my labs. And the government
and you are attacking the government by talking about a government program that they are involved with the aliens in as a conspiracy.
Exactly. And that's where, where's that line going to be drawn? We know for a fact my labs happen. We've had cases involving my labs. So it's not a conspiracy. But they can try to cover it up as one. So,
yeah, actually, that's the case.
These are things, they're kind of breaching that First Amendment, and they have been for a few years now. You saw the First Amendment being breached a few years ago with the Dakota Pipeline. When they were, using water hoses and spraying the Native Americans that were protesting, and everybody else was protesting a pipeline that was going through native land. That was the right to protest. They've been breaching that for a few years now. But now it's coming down into our realm. So I just want to leave you with that thought. It's something we'll be keeping an eye on. It's something I'll be talking about.
How about it?
Go ahead.
Well, you were talking about terrorists. I think FMP should do a shout out to the poor people in Ohio that had a gunman in the bar and killed 6 people just tonight. within the last 2 hours.
During the show.
Yep.
And on that, S4 will be doing a show on active shooter response and terrorism response in September. So I will add that. I think it's needed. S4 does a public service with disaster preparedness seasonally, and active shooter and things of that nature will be breached as well. We live in a society that it needs to be taught. A sad society that it needs to be taught. Because it's getting worse.
Yeah, it's very definitely a sad state of affairs in all fairness.
Well, you know, like you said earlier in the year, that's why we have more UFO sightings, because the off-worlders are watching human civilization.
Yes.
And I don't think we're going down the road that they want us to go down.
Well, you're right, because they don't want you to go down any road. From their standpoint, this is literally an exercise in xeno-socioeconomic evolution.
Right.
So you don't want it, them wanting you to go down one road or another would be akin to a scientist going, this is what I want the experiment to come out to.
Yeah. They want us to mature, not degrade. Correct.
You do it without destroying the planet in the process.
Right. So, Keith, where can we find your books?
Well, right about now, it's through me.
Okay.
Quite literally. The Inner Voice Enterprises at yahoo.ca. I'm pretty certain if you get a hold of you guys that you'll pass it on.
Exactly.
How close are we to getting a PDF file?
On Facebook, on my Elderbach webpage. Right, or on the on Facebook's marketplace. I've actually got them listed in there. And of course, I'm going to be bringing some. I don't know how many, but I'm going to be bringing some with me to Paracon. I just don't know if I have left.
One of those is mine.
So are we close to a PDF file?
Yeah. The whole catch with the PDF file is trying to figure out how to get it done properly so that it cannot be replicated.
Okay, yeah, I got you. Password protected PDF.
Yeah, I got somebody that actually can turn it into a solid program. You just have to protect it properly.
Excellent. And are you still doing YouTube videos?
I am. I've actually finally started getting back to them. As we all know, my health has not been cooperating.
Right.
The fact I'm actually up at this hour of the night is actually a plus.
Right.
So I just got started on them the other day again, and I'm planning on doing them a lot more regularly now.
We do much appreciate it, Keith.
And where can we find your YouTube channel?
That is R. Keith Andrews.
Alrighty. Cole, where can we find Statement of Sound DJ services?
You can find us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/SOSDJPro. You can also call me at 360-999-2830.
Yep, that's it. 999-2830. And if you have a business that you want advertised on S4, again, you can call Cole at 360-999-2830, and we can actually do your commercial for you. And you can find all the information on being a sponsor of S4 at www.s-4radio.com. So, next week, there is no show. We will be at the Skagit County Fair having a blast. Looking forward to meeting the public, getting the word out about FMP, about Paracon, about S4, and about paranormal issues in general. And I can foresee cases potentially jumping, so we'll have a lot more boots on ground. We're kind of getting prepared for once the word about FMP gets out there to the public. So, again, next week, no show. August 17th, we are talking paranormal highways. So what are paranormal highways? Route 66, extraterrestrial highway. And are they considered hot spots? Or is it just something to build up your psyche to make you expect something paranormal on those highways? We'll be discussing that.
Okay, we'll wait till later.
Yes, wait till the 17th.
Fine.
All right. So I want to thank our panel tonight, Cole Wegleitner, our technical analyst, Matthew Dunnigan, our Boots on Ground team analyst, Chris and Brent Dodge from the FMP Extended Care and Astral team, our Keith Andrews, our alien race specialist, Don Davidson, our California consultant, and Jamie Justice, our upriver historical consultant. So keep your eyes to the sky, folks. Have a safe week out there, and hope to see you at the fair if you're local.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight on S4, the official voice of Forest Moon Paranormal. You can contact S4 through our website at www.s-4radio.com or on Facebook. Make sure you give us a like on our page and join the Forest Moon Paranormal group. If you are interested in advertising, take a look at our packages and contact Cole or Eric at 1-360-999-2830. Again, thank you. And remember, keep your eyes to the sky.